Imagine this: every time you eat certain foods, it's like setting off a tiny inflammation firework inside your body. For those of us dealing with arthritis, this firework can turn into a full-on pain party in our joints. Which foods are we talking about today? These are essentially the main hosts of this unwanted party. By avoiding them, we might be able to turn down the volume on our arthritis symptoms. Imagine waking up with less stiffness, moving more easily, and perhaps even reducing your reliance on painkillers. So, let's get started and unmask these sneaky culprits that could be wreaking havoc on your joints. Food 1: Refined sugar. First up on our list is the sweet saboteur, refined sugar. Now, I know what you're thinking, but it tastes so good. I used to have a major sweet tooth myself. But here's the thing: refined sugar is like a friend who makes parties fun but leaves you feeling awful the next day. When we consume refined sugar, our bodies respond with an increase in inflammation. It's like sugar sends out a distress signal, and our immune system charges in with guns blazing. For those of us with arthritis, this means more pain and stiffness in our joints. And here's the catch: sugar is everywhere. It hides in your morning cereal, lurks in your healthy afternoon snack bar, and don't even get me started on sodas and fruit juices. It's a master of disguise, often listed on ingredient labels under names like high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, or maltose. Healthier alternatives. But don't despair. We are not doomed to a life without sweetness. There are plenty of healthier alternatives that can satisfy your sweet tooth without wreaking havoc on your joints. Have you tried sweeteners like stevia or monk fruit? These natural options provide sweetness without the inflammation. And let's not forget nature's candy whole fruits. They're packed with fiber, which slows sugar absorption and prevents those nasty inflammation spikes. If you're worried about giving up sugar, don't be. Start small. Swap your sugary afternoon snack for a piece of fruit, or try adding cinnamon to your morning coffee instead of sugar. Your joints will thank you, and you might even come to prefer these natural alternatives. Food 2: Processed meat. Next up is something that might be a staple in many of your refrigerators: processed meat. I'm talking about bacon, sausages, deli meats, and other processed meats. Now, I know these are convenient and tasty, but here's the deal: these meats often contain preservatives and additives that trigger inflammation in our bodies. It's like inviting a whole marching band of inflammation into your system. Studies have shown a link between consuming processed meats and increased arthritis pain. And it's not just the additives: the high level of saturated fats in these meats can also contribute to inflammation. Better protein choices. But don't worry, I'm not here to take all the protein off your plate. There are many better options that can actually help fight inflammation rather than fuel it. Try swapping processed meats for lean, unprocessed protein sources. Chicken, fish, and legumes are all excellent choices. Fish, in particular, can be a superstar for arthritis sufferers. Many types of fish are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which have powerful anti-inflammatory properties. If you'd rather go meatless, there are plenty of plant-based protein options too. Beans, lentils, and tofu can be delicious, joint-friendly alternatives. Remember, it's all about making small, sustainable changes. Your joints and your taste buds will adjust. But before we move on, make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest celebrity health updates. Food 3: Trans fats. Let's talk about a true troublemaker in the world of nutrition: trans fats. These are the bad guys of the fat world, and they're particularly problematic for those of us with arthritis. Trans fats are commonly found in processed foods, fried foods, and baked goods. They're made through a process called hydrogenation, where liquid oils are turned into solid fats. The problem: our bodies don't know how to properly process these artificial fats, leading to increased inflammation. Here's the tricky part: trans fats often hide in plain sight. They might be listed on ingredient labels as partially hydrogenated oils. So, we need to be food detectives and read those labels carefully. Choose healthy fats. Now, I know what you're thinking: are all fats bad for me? Absolutely not. In fact, some fats can be incredibly helpful in managing arthritis symptoms. Let me introduce you to some fats that your joints will actually thank you for. Olive oil, avocados, and nuts are all excellent sources of healthy fats. These foods contain monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, which have been shown to have anti-inflammatory properties. Incorporating these healthy fats into your diet is easier than you might think. Try drizzling some olive oil over your salad, adding sliced avocado to your sandwich, or snacking on a handful of almonds. Small changes like these can make a big difference in your overall inflammation levels. Food 4, nightshade vegetables. Now, we're venturing into somewhat controversial territory: nightshade vegetables. This group includes tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, and potatoes. I know what you're thinking, but they're vegetables. Aren't they supposed to be good for me? Well, it's complicated. Some people with arthritis report increased joint pain and inflammation after eating nightshades. The theory is that these vegetables contain compounds called alkaloids, which can trigger inflammation in sensitive individuals. However, the link between nightshades and arthritis symptoms is not definitively proven by science. This is one of those areas where individual experiences vary widely. A personalized approach. This is where we need to put on our detective hats and do some personal investigating. Our bodies are unique, and what causes inflammation for one person might be perfectly fine for another. I always recommend keeping a food diary. It's a great way to track your symptoms and see if there's a pattern with certain foods. If you notice that your joints tend to flare up after a big plate of pasta with tomato sauce, it might be worth experimenting with reducing nightshades in your diet. But don't worry if you find that nightshades are a problem for you. There are plenty of other vegetables with amazing anti-inflammatory properties. Leafy greens, broccoli, and Brussels sprouts are all great options. And remember, always consult your doctor before making significant changes to your diet. Food 5, alcohol. Now, I know this might not be what you want to hear, but we need to talk about alcohol. For many of us, it's a popular ritual to unwind with a glass of wine or a cold beer at the end of the day. But if you're dealing with arthritis, alcohol may do more harm than good. Alcohol can increase inflammation in the body, leading to more joint pain and stiffness. It can also interfere with the effectiveness of certain arthritis medications, potentially reducing their benefits. Alcohol is a diuretic, which means it dehydrates you. And guess what? Proper hydration is crucial for maintaining healthy, well-lubricated joints. So that dehydrating effect? It's definitely not doing your joints any favors. Moderation and alternatives. Now, I'm not here to tell you that you can never enjoy a drink again. The key, as with many things in life, is moderation. If you choose to drink, try to limit your intake. The general guideline is up to 1 drink per day for women and up to 2 for men, but tolerance is different for everyone. But why not try some tasty alcohol-free alternatives? Herbal teas can be a great way to relax at the end of the day. Or try infusing water with fruits and herbs for a refreshing, hydrating beverage. Anyone up for cucumber and mint water? And here's an interesting tidbit: some studies suggest that red wine, when consumed in moderation, may actually have anti-inflammatory effects due to a compound called resveratrol. Food 6, gluten. Alright, let's tackle a big one: gluten. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard about the gluten-free trend. But is gluten really an issue for arthritis sufferers? Well, for some people, it certainly can be. Gluten is a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye. For people with celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, consuming gluten can trigger an immune response that leads to inflammation throughout the body, including the joints. Even if you haven't been diagnosed with gluten sensitivity, some people find that cutting back on gluten helps ease their arthritis symptoms. Gluten-free options. If you're thinking about reducing gluten in your diet, don't worry, you have options. There are plenty of naturally gluten-free grains that can easily replace wheat in your diet. Quinoa, rice, and millet are all excellent choices. They're not only gluten-free but also packed with nutrients. Switching to a gluten-free diet might seem daunting at first, but it's easier than you might think. Focus initially on whole, unprocessed foods, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and the gluten-free grains mentioned above. You'll be surprised by how many delicious meals you can make without gluten. But here's an important reminder: always consult your doctor before making major changes to your diet. They can help you navigate the transition and ensure you're still getting all the nutrients you need. Food 7. Artificial additives. Last but not least, let's talk about artificial additives. These are the chemicals added to foods to enhance flavor, color, or shelf life. They're everywhere in processed foods and, unfortunately, they can be bad news for our joints. Many artificial additives have been linked to increased inflammation in the body. Things like artificial sweeteners, preservatives, and food colorings can potentially trigger an inflammatory response. And for those of us with arthritis, that means more pain and stiffness. The tricky part is that these additives often hide in foods we might not expect. They can be in everything from salad dressings to healthy protein bars. It takes some serious detective work to read labels carefully and avoid them altogether. Clean eating strategies. This is where the concept of clean eating comes in. Clean eating is all about choosing whole, unprocessed foods whenever possible. By sticking to foods that are close to their natural state, we can avoid many of these problematic additives. Here's a tip: shop around the perimeter of the grocery store. That's usually where you'll find the fresh produce, meat, and dairy. The more heavily processed foods are typically found in the middle aisles. And don't worry, eating clean doesn't mean your food has to be bland. There are so many ways to add flavor to your meals naturally. Experiment with herbs and spices. Not only do they make food delicious, but many of them, like turmeric and ginger, also have their own anti-inflammatory properties. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.